Right. Yeah. It's like,
So,
here are the funny jokes. Here's the surprise. Here's what's going to
yes,
happen.
yes.
Yeah. But I spent 7 years hustling screenplays for a living. I used to be a senior vice president of development at a management production company. So
Nice.
my day job was finding scripts and developing them and then shopping them. And that's the best education they can ever have is like not only when you're like just on the phone and producers and execs are telling you exactly why they're not going to pick up a script or move on it and XYZ. And not
Mhm.
only is that good education, but it's also like the stakes are your paycheck. So it's like you're getting paid on whether or not this thing sells. So it's like you get a very sharp refinement of exactly what's going on. And I bring that up only because we had a project that was written by one of our better clients. Like he had actually gotten a couple of movies made, with real
Mhm.
life movies, studio movies with movie stars, Like this guy had a fan base amongst the executives,
Oh,
so
nice,
yeah, so it's like,
nice.
and it's interesting, like when writers and filmmakers kind of have, when they get themselves out there to a certain degree, like people within the industry will be like, I'll read anything she writes. I'll watch anything this guy makes. Just also the general audience.
Mhm.
And he wrote a vampire script that was really really good because about it kind of plays the same game as From Dusk Till Dawn.
Okay.
Is about half of it seems like it's a romantic comedy, and then halfway, but this guy is getting sick, and you think, what's going on with him? Does he have cancer? Does he have like a movie cough? It's like one of
Mhm.
those. And no, it actually turns out that like halfway through, he's getting up at night and going out and murdering people and drinking their blood and coming back home, and he doesn't know that he's doing that. And his sickness is exhaustion because he's not sleeping at all. So, and also the blood that he's got in his stomach. So,
Yeah.
and I bring up this project in particular because even though it was great script, everyone loved it. Um, the executives 100% across the board, there's like, we can't market this because the best thing about this script is the surprise,
Mm.
and if you give away the surprise in the marketing, then you lose the best thing about it.
That's true.
It's like, with From Dusk Till Dawn, you could play that card as a secret because you still have like a dark thriller about this family getting kidnapped by these two criminals.
Mhm.
I mean, so it's like you're going to get an audience that wants to see a dark and dangerous movie, and you have enough of that kind of thing to market to the audience. So when the vampires do show up, it's a surprise. But it's like if you market it as like a romantic comedy, and then halfway through then vampires show up. It's like, the audience that shows up for a romantic comedy is going to be disappointed, and the audience that would go out for a vampire movie is not going to show up because they don't want to see romantic comedy. So it's like that's sort of like we're in this
Yeah.
weird bind. Like we don't know how to sell it.
Ah,
So even though we love it, if we don't know how to sell it to the audience, then
it's
there's your pass.
damn. That's see, and the thing about that is, it sucks because it's like it could be one of those things. The buildup can be worth it. The surprise at the end, or whatever the thing is you're discussing, could be worth
Mhm.
it. And I do understand what you're saying with the whole marketing. It's like, how are we going to market this without throwing the big boom in there?
Right.
And shit.
That's kind of the thing is like, Sixth Sense, you have enough ghost stuff going on that
Mhm.
you still have a movie to market, and even without the twist, But yeah, it's kind of like in terms of shopping, like say From the Shadows
Mhm.
was very educational. I mean, even with all the experience, you still get these lessons to learn, surprises to be had. And with Shadows, we had a lot of passes from distributors because there's like, it's a little sci-fi, it's a little the kind of Zoom call movie. It's shadow people, but it's also a slasher. It's kind of this, it's kind of that. It's kind of a cult movie. It's kind of, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And that, when we were making the movie, we thought that kind of unique combination of elements gave it like kind of a unique feel. And we weren't wrong, But when it went to the distributors was like, I know how to sell a ghost movie and I know how to sell a slasher movie, but a movie that's like, and I know how to sell a sci-fi movie, but a movie that's like a ghost movie and a slasher and a sci-fi, like I don't know what I'm selling. You know, it's like it's trying to sell like 3 different kinds of sandwiches. You know, they're all sandwiches, but you know, it's like the audiences when they're looking at the menu, it's like, give me a burger, give me a chicken, give me fish. It's like, no, oh yeah, it's the turducken sandwich.
The turducken sandwich. There you go.
It's like, so anyways, yeah. So I mean, luckily we landed with, we were able to get the movie out anyways, but it's like it was a doing, man. You know, so it's like, you know, there's a reason why I like sometimes people will like kind of pull their hair out over how the industry works, but I mean, it really just comes down to like, you know, can we sell this? Because if we can't sell it, then we're not going to make any money, and then we have to go get real jobs. So it's like,
I love how you said it. Like, then we have to go get real jobs. We
Yeah,
don't want to do that. We want to do that.
So, do I actually can you familiarize me with your channel, your whole thing? What's going on, man? What are you doing?
So with this, I've been doing. January 1st will be 6 years of doing this podcast, and I started out with just recording with friends and family members, just hanging out at someone's house, to them coming over and just record, reviewing movies. Then it got on to, as I grew some and like started branding out, started networking. That's the word.
Yeah.
Started networking with people like yourself, indie artists, you know, excuse me,
Sure.
indie directors, indie writers, and all that, actors, actresses. I started connecting with them, so I would do interviews with them once in a while. I would do and movie reviews and just talk horror. I got into this as far as the whole horror thing since I was about 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You know, following around my older brother and older cousins and all that stuff. Being the youngest, so you know how that. Well, you know how it is being the youngest, even if you're not the youngest. Just from seeing it on TV,
yeah.
just from whatever the case may be, you want to follow the older kids, and that's what I did. And I just have this love for it. Like,
yeah, me too.
It's more than just the blood, guts, and boobs. It's more than the scares. It's more than like, yes, you love all of that, but it's like, again, I've been watching it since my childhood, and I'm a grown man and still love this stuff more than I did as a kid because I understand it more, and you know what I mean. I can see a lot more because I can just. I mean, I'm an adult. I want to see this movie. I can go buy it, go get it, whatever the case may be.
Right.
But it's just cool that I still have like that childhood excitement for movies, like that childhood excitement for certain movies, certain slashers, like Friday the 13th franchise is my favorite franchise of just everything. I just have to admit it. Like I've been thinking about this for years because people are asking what my favorite horror movie is, and I really don't have an answer for that. I'm like, it's just because I'm more of like whatever I'm in the mood for watching is what I want to watch.
Yeah, it's like asking what's your favorite food. It's like, well, you know.
Yeah, like today it's lasagna, but tomorrow it could be something completely different.
Right.
It depends what I'm in the mood for. But I mean, I do have certain movies that I can go back to. I mean, there's a ton, but Friday the 13th is definitely one. That franchise, for the most part, I can go through and never get tired of watching it. Never get tired of watching it. As a matter of fact, I'm going through a review thing now on my podcast where Tuesday we did Friday the 13th 1 and 2. Or sorry, we did Friday the 13th 1 and Nightmare on Elm Street 1. Thursday we did 2 for both. Next Tuesday we're doing part 3 for both, and so on and so forth, all the way up till Halloween. Like I'm doing for both of those films, I'm doing from part 1 to part 7 because Nightmare on Elm Street, the original things only have 7, and then I'm doing the remakes, and then I'm gonna end it off on Halloween, Freddy vs. Jason. I know the remakes came out after, but just because it's like a Freddy vs. Jason type of deal, you finally get the battle at the end, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
Man. Yeah.
I love it. I get to talk to people like yourself and just other people, meet other horror fans, and that's the dopest thing. Like being able to meet people from around the world, literally just around the world, just sitting at my house talking some horror, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Like who would have freaking thought? Like this is some things you wouldn't even think of at the time, as a kid, because there was nothing out like this. I mean, you had the Jetsons with their little, their screens, Ninja Turtles with their screens that they had, and Star Trek and stuff like that. But I mean, as far as like, oh shit, I can talk to people around the world from sitting in my house on something called the internet, huh?
Yeah.
Video chatting, what?
Yeah,
but
I mean, obviously Skype was a thing for 10 years before COVID, but it feels like COVID. I there's every cloud has a silver lining, and I think that COVID kind of really carved that out in our cultural experience, where it's just like, suddenly it's just a thing that you do.
Yeah,
Just do these, blah blah blah. And it's like it became like just kind of a normal thing, just like
Mhm.
just hey man, what are you doing? You just jump on your little video screen, have a
Yep.
couple of beers, and hey
Exactly.
man, it's you don't have to
Exactly.
drive away. You don't have to wait until a situation where you have to drive away all the way across town to see your friends. Or
Exactly.
especially
Exactly.
dudes that in other cities. So it's like yeah,
Yeah.
just when I was in Wisconsin, I got to see a buddy of mine who lives in Chicago. 'Cause he took the hour drive up to go to the screening, which was cool of him.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, it's like but yeah, him and another friend of mine. He didn't make the screening, but he came out for a beer.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a lot of people will complain about the idea that like the internet is like making us more fragmented and XYZ.
Mhm.
But I think there's also a trade off. Is like
Oh yeah.
I don't even know where in the country are you right now.
I'm in New York.
Okay, yeah. I mean I'm on the other side of the country, so it's like
Really?
in
Where are you at?
LA. But
Nice.
I
Nice.
I did post on death metal in New York. I kind of a
Mhm.
long story, but I was there for about 3 months. And the studio was a place called Buttons House on 45th and 5th. And so, like, my daily commute was the 1 to Times Square and then a 5-block walk. And it was,
Mhm.
yeah, it was 3 months of hanging around Manhattan. And I had never spent that much time in New York before. I'd visited, but I hadn't, like, been there,
Yeah.
been there, And it was like a long enough time for me to be like, okay, I get why people get into the whole I love New York thing. Like I'm like, okay, I get it. It's kind of cool. I like it.
Nice. Nice.
I unfortunately I didn't have a whole lot of opportunity to explore because, like, ironically enough, I was working most of it.
Yeah.
But I was trying to like, there's a fairly famous metal bar called St. Vitus in Brooklyn, and I was planning on catching a show there, and then I had to go into the studio. I couldn't, and da. But maybe one of these days. But yeah, it's yeah. But yeah, I was in New York for 3 months and I liked it. That's kind of the short
Hey,
version.
that's good. That's good
Yeah.
though. That's good. So
Mhm.
with death metal, because I know you directed this. Like, what was your how'd you get the idea for it? Because I thought it was a cool concept as far as like the music being haunted and eventually taking them over. And I'm not going to spoil too much, but just that portion of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's a really cool concept. And the one guy that was the band leader, I'm assuming, I forgot his name. Um,
Ivan.
yeah, him.
Yeah.
Like his crazy obsession with it. Like, yo,
Hmm.
friends are dying, and all you're talking about is making a damn song
Right. Yeah.
the whole time. What's going on with you, man?
Yeah.
And then you come to find out when you watch the movie, you come to find out why he's doing that, and I'm just like,
Right.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah. The source of the idea is like it's like most creative things. It's like a piece here, a piece there, a piece there. The core of it was before I was in filmmaking, I used to play bass in punk rock and heavy metal bands. And a million years ago, when I was still in Chicago, we were cutting an album or a demo with one of my punk rock bands, and it was in this really creepy old brick building that survived the Chicago fire. So it
Hmm.
was, super old, and it had like weird twists and turns. And when you're not cutting tracks, you're basically just hanging around, So like I would
Hmm.
just like wander around this building, and it was just like the errant thought of like, man, what if this place is haunted? Wouldn't that be cool? So it's like the general idea of a haunted recording studio, kind of
Yeah.
just you throw it in the mental filing cabinet, and la la la. Cut forward, and I ran into Dan Gutschmidt, who is the producer and also the composer on the project, and he offered, for me to shoot a movie in his locations. He's like, "Hey, I've got a farm and I've got a recording studio. Can you make a movie out of those two locations?" I'm like, yes, I can. So I flew out to Ohio and took a look around it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, what we're gonna do is we're gonna, the farm, and we're gonna pretend like the recording studio is in the basement of the farm. And I drew on that old idea. I'm like, let's dig out that old idea of the haunted recording studio, And
Hmm.
I was throwing around ideas for that for the script. That and there's an old Italian horror movie called Paganini Horror that is written and stars Daria Nicolodi, who was Dario Argento's wife for a period of
Oh,
time.
nice.
And anyway, so the wonderful thing about being a nerd for obscure international cinema is you can steal from that shit as much as you want. It's like a lot of people accuse me of ripping off Deathgasm, and I've actually never even seen that movie. But I'm just like, no, I am ripping off a movie. It's just not that one. So yeah, because I realized that like just having the place just be haunted wasn't interesting enough. We wanted it to be oh, thank you. Because the source of the haunting, I wanted it to be from death metal. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like the movie's called Death Metal. It's about a death metal band. And it's like if they just end up in like a haunted place, then it isn't specifically a story about death metal. It's like, you know, anybody could be in there and still be haunted because it's a haunted space, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, let's, you know, make it a cursed song. The source of trouble comes from the music that they play, which is death metal. Death metal band plays death metal, and then the death metal kills the death metal band. So it's like, you know, let's keep it that very focused idea. So anyway, so that's kind of the, and then you throw in like little nods like the Robert Johnson kind of thing, you know, the selling the soul and and ultimately it becomes kind of a metaphor for ambition, because you know, Ivan is driven by this idea that like he plays music A, because he loves it, but also B, he sees it as a way to make himself immortal in a way. You know, and so he's willing. It's one of those things where it's just like, you know, you ask any creative person, well, what would you do to succeed? And the answer is always like anything, you know, or something broad like that. And it's like,
yeah.
You know, and then, you know, what evil does is evil asks anything. Like, what do we mean by anything? How about selling all your bandmates to Satan? How's that sound? Will you do that? And if not, then, you know, I guess you don't want it that bad. You know, it's like, we'll check the next guy. No, I'm listening.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
anyway, so that's the very long answer to your very short question.
No, hey, I like that though, because you're really like just going from the mindset of where you're from. You're digging from where you got these ideas from. I love that. That's what I want when I ask questions and stuff. Because people, it's tough when like you're asking that question and they're just like, oh well, yeah, I just sitting down, just kind of wrote it down, and then they just stop. I'm like, well, that's it. There has to be more to it than that. You made a damn movie. There has to be more to it than you just sat there and wrote it down and came up with the idea. It's like I'm not saying that can't happen, but there was more to it. Something that sparked that idea.
I know. Yeah, I know you wrote it, but but yeah, in terms of like influence, and there's like the core nut influence is OG Evil Dead, the first one. Because I knew going in that it was going to be kind of a scrappy, independent, you know, movie where like you might see the seams of filmmaking, and you're going to see the budget or lack thereof, but you'll also see the passion. You'll also see the goer. You know, so it's just like, you know, that's the idea of like let's just go in and go in swinging with the idea. We're going to make a really crazy, gory midnight movie. You know, and just, you know, OG Evil Dead, that was the bullseye. And I had that conversation with cast, crew, rewatch OG, you know, not anything else, none of the jokey stuff. We're going to try to scare people, because that's the thing is, it's technically a heavy metal horror movie, and there are enough of these movies that it's kind of its own sub genre of films. And like, if you wanted to sit down, you could write up like 10, 12, 15 heavy metal horror movies, and the commonality of all those films is they're always horror comedies. They always play it for camp. They're always making fun of horror. They're making fun of the iconography of heavy metal. 100% of them always go campy. And even though we have some lighter moments in this, it's not meant to be a horror comedy. It's meant to be weird and gross and scary. So in that, we're kind of trying to make something that's a little unique, even though I'm like liberally ripping off Paganini horror for the plot, and I'm drawing very hard on the original Evil Dead. It's still like, in terms of like the broader scope of horror filmmaking, there's no other heavy metal horror movie that's actually trying to scare you. It's like, so that's the idea. But it's like, and then when you with everything else, I mean, there are literally like dozens of other influences throughout the entire movie because I'm a nerd for this stuff, like you are. Like,
Yeah.
if you really go through a fine tooth comb, like you could pick up, like, at the very end when the demons hassle Shadia, like they're, I'm kind of drawing on the climax from an old Corman movie called Galaxy of Terror. But when they speak to her, it's kind of in the same way as like Cenobites, where they're kind of they're emotionally unaffected, like they're not trying to scare her, they're just talking to her. But they're still like very obviously like an alien version of themselves. I could go through and point out like the exact shots that I'm lifting from like specific movies. So I'm like, well, that shot's from Blackula, that shot is from Hellraiser 2. That shot is from this shot is from Pet Sematary. It's just like if you, it's one of the, but at the same time without winking at the audience. Like I never wanted to. It's one thing to be clearly influenced, and another thing to be like, remember that movie? It's like, no, I never want to do that.
If play the damn movie in the movie.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's like like a while ago, I did an interview with Lee Cronin, who directed Evil Dead Rise. I was doing filmmaker interviews for a screenwriting magazine.
Awesome.
And just as like a side hustle, it's like hey. But yeah, it was boo hoo. I have to go talk to horror filmmakers, So, but I interviewed Lee Cronin right after he made a movie called Hole in the Ground, and there is like when they walk into the house, the wallpaper is the design of the carpet in The Shining. Which and of course I noticed. I'm like, that's a Shining wallpaper. He's like, this might sound crazy, but I didn't mean for it. Like the production designer showed up with like, here are these 10 wallpapers that we can use, and one of them was just like, oh shit, let's do the Shining one. So it's like, it wasn't like he was like, give me the Shining wallpaper. It was more like, oh cool, that's let's use that one. That would be fun. So, but yeah, I'm stealing, but I'm not winking.
I'm stealing, but I'm not.
Right.
Oh, man, that's so funny.
That's going to be the title of my autobiography.
I'm stealing, but I'm not winking. Your autobiography. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, and then with From the Shadows, it was cool. The cool thing about that was I liked how, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Hush.
Yes.
Is that what it's called? No, is it Hush? Similar to what we're doing right here, honestly, and to an extent. And I just think that's when those are done right, they can be really cool because it's just like it puts you in these times, of course, but it's like a lot of people talk like this. A lot of people do it for podcasts, meeting, like whatever the case may be. Court. People go to court from home now, so it's like that concept. If you can get that concept to work with the horror stuff and the creepiness, and usually it's paranormal. I know you guys. It was like slasher /
it's kind of a mix of
shadow people, but it works.
Yeah,
like it worked, and I was just like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah,
it started out a little slow for me, but then when it was picking up, I was like, oh, this is fun. And it was a specific voice. A specific voice, guys, that you need. You'll know it when you hear it, people. You will know it when you hear it.
The movie lights up
if you've ever seen I'm just gonna say this: if you've ever seen Gargoyles, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. Well, that's your hint, people.
In developing, and you're putting your finger right on something that's there. When I was pulling together the idea, I had another project that almost got made called Knife, and COVID swept in and killed it. And I was so bent on shit because we were close enough that like I had the taste of it in my mouth. I'm just like,
right, yep.
And so it's like, well, what the fuck can we get made?
Yeah.
And I saw a movie called Host. Did you see Host?
I didn't see Host. You said Host?
Host.
Host. Yeah. That was on Shudder or something, right? Yeah.
I forgot, but I saw Host, and the entire thing is it's a Zoom call where they try to do a seance, and the demons give them a hard time. And I thought, okay, let's make one of those. So it's a Zoom call, and but we can't do ghosts because that's unfriended. We can't do demons because that's host. So what do we do? I thought, all right, well maybe it's a slasher movie version of it. So it's like, all right, so this creepy guy is popping up behind them and stabbing them. All right, so but why don't they leave? All right, and then you start just logically, you start walking backwards from that. This guy's popping up behind these people, and why don't they leave? And how is he finding them? How is he doing this? Da 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 da. Why are they on this call in the first place? And that's how we start to kind of throw around the ideas. And one of my producing partners, a guy named Ian Holt, he was friends with a guy named Mike Sargent, who he had been a director like years before, and he had kind of segged into being primarily a film critic for a while, and a radio show, and he was on NPR and Fox, and it was kind of the space where he lived. But he always had, and I can't speak to Mike Sargent because he isn't here, but he always had in his head to get back to filmmaking. So Ian was aware of this, so he pulled Mike in, and we were just throwing around ideas, and I'm just like, you know what, I'm just gonna take a stab at the script. And because I'm a fast writer, so I'm just like, I'm just gonna whip out first draft, because it's one thing to kind of like riff and kind of throw around ideas, but like it's not until you like actually throw something on the page and you have something to look at, and then you can be like, all right, this doesn't work, but let's keep this. And with that first draft, what I did was I went totally soup to nuts in terms of the characters explaining the entire story of everything that was going on, with the idea that we would pare it down from there. And Mike came back and he was like, no, I want to keep all that.
Shit.
Yeah, I'm just like, it's going to be like a really talky movie, man. And he's like, Cooch, here it is. First, they're on a Zoom call. Of course it's going to be a talky movie. It doesn't. Second, we're going to give the audience a mystery to solve. We want to engage them and the exact scenario, so when shit really goes down, they know exactly who the players are, what's going on, how Bertram can do what he's doing, how what's going on, da 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 da. I'm like, okay, man. So it's just like, and he's neither right nor wrong, because the primary criticism that we get when we do get, like, say, a mixed review, some people love this movie, and other people are just like, nope. And it comes down to the talkiness of that first hour. Like, you're really the idea is like we're slowly, there's dread, there's tension, like we know that it's coming, but as just a horror nerd, like for me, the movie like really pops off when shit gets going. From that point forward, it's like, okay, okay. Not that I mind the talkiness, because I wrote the fucking thing. but
you can't be mad at it. You cannot be mad. No, I get it.
Yeah, but like, for instance, a little piece of trivia: we actually had another actress who signed on to star as Amora before we had Selena and Dews, and we have a sneaking hunch that she did not actually read the script when she took the gig, because she got to set and she looked at the script. She's like, "Man, there's a lot of dialogue here," and my sergeant's like, "Yeah." And she's like, I don't know, I'm not used to working this. I'm not used to working this way. And Mike's like, well, we can do it however way you want. I'll work with you. I'm the director. You're the actor. It's not, I'm not your boss. We're gonna work together. And she said nope, and she got on the plane and she left. So, I know. Yeah. So I landed in Newark and called. I'm just like, I'm like, hey guys, just letting you know, I'm boots on the ground in New Jersey, and I'm gonna get a lift to the set, and we're gonna be there. It's like, great, Cooch, that's good to hear. Oh, by the way, we lost our lead actress. Okay. So we had so what we did was, we carved out everything that you can do in this movie, without your lead actress, and we figured that we had about 2.5 days worth of shooting. So we had 2.5 days to find a replacement for a lead actress. And it came down to the wire, man. Down to the wire.
That's
until
crazy.
Finally, as in like literally, It's like, because we not only have to find her, we have to find her early enough on that Wednesday to get her to set by Thursday. So I mean, so like 4 o'clock on Wednesday, the last of the 3 days, we're still pacing a hole in the carpet. We're still burning out the phone. We're trying this person, that person, da. And I go, guys, I'll be right back. And I went up to my hotel room. I got out my phone and I pulled up Yelp. And into Yelp, I typed in dive bar because it was my full intention to find the closest dive bar and go there and curl up in the corner and get hammered. And because our movie was about to shut down, because if you don't have a lead actress, you don't have a movie to shoot. And just as I was about to hit, enter on dive bar, the phone rang in my hand, and it's my partners, and they was like, "Cooch, get down here. We found her." Okay, so I ran downstairs. It was like, yeah, her name's Selena Dews. She's in Georgia. We made her an offer. She's on her way up. Get on the plane. She'll be here tomorrow morning. Yeah, so I mean, Selena's pulled our beacon right out of the fire, and not only that, but she also killed it. She's super talented, hardworking. We owe her, everything. So, anyways, I will sing the praises of, nothing against the rest of our cast, because everyone's great, everyone's wonderful, but yeah, Selena is just like, MVP right there.
That's amazing. That's awesome though, because it's like, shit, we just lost our lead. Fuck, I'm gonna go get drunk as fuck.
Yeah,
and punch the wall like Kyle. And then as soon as you're about to it's just like, all right. Listen, don't do it, man. Don't do it. Get your ass downstairs.
The gods of Hollywood reached out and took my hand and said, "No, not today, Mike. You don't get to be Irish today. You have to go back to work now." Okay. Which I was glad to do. Don't get me wrong, but just like it was looking dire. It was looking tough. Also considering that we were 3 days into shooting a movie. It's one thing to have a movie fall apart before it starts shooting like Knife did, but it's another one to actually start shooting the motherfucker and have it fall apart. It's like, what does a guy have to do around here?
So I guess next time, if this ever happens again, just go upstairs, find a dive bar, and just before you hit that button, phone call.
Yeah, I have to fool the powers into saving my ass, but
that's cool though, because that could have just, I mean, obviously the movie could have never been made, which would have sucked. And it's just, I agree. Wow, it's just like, wow, like literally the buzzer beater. Now just imagine you hit enter or whatever, you get. Okay, dive bar. Let's just say it's right across the street, right up the street from where you guys are staying at.
Right, yeah.
You're over there having your drinks, banging them down. Then you get the phone call. Like, yo, man, I can barely stand up.
Dude, I'll tell you what, man. It's just like, filmmaking is often, chaotic and stressful. Even on, it's just you're trying to pull the fires of chaos into and work it into a thing that you can, a shareable dream. Yeah, and with that, with Shadows, man, the ball was in the air when the buzzer went. It's like that's what that was. So it's like every movie is kind of its own little miracle, and so is Shadows. So for some people, it's just like kind of a fun little horror movie where it's kind of talky for about the first half, and then it gets going. And for us, it's like, holy fuck, these are the stories we could tell on that thing. So. But we're happy with it, man. We're really cool with it. And we just had the red carpet like about a week and a half ago now, I want to say. Selena came out along with our younger cast, who are all locals from New Jersey. Keith came out, Bruce. So yeah, I mean, it was cool to get the band back together. And, speaking of having drinks, I have a little, relax a little bit, catch up with everybody. But yeah, so yeah, now it's out. Now it's on Vudu.
There you go. Go watch on Vudu. Go watch on Vudu. So what? Actually, let me jump back further.
Yeah.
Who or what got you into horror, and then what was the first movie you remember that scared you, if any?
Oh, that's a really good question. I'm like you, man. I'm like, from knee high. It's like I rolled out of the womb liking this stuff. It's just like, plot.
Like, can we? You know how funny of a freaking movie that would be? Like the baby's coming out, Mom, put some horror on. How is this motherfucker already talking?
Mom, it's Jason's mother in the first movie. Jason doesn't even get the mask until 3. It's
like, oh man, all that horror knowledge.
Well, I think like a lot of kids, almost everywhere in the United States has like a horror host, who shows like old horror movies. And when I was a kid in Chicago, it was Son of Svengoolie was the guy. And other parts of the country, it's like Elvira or that and the comedian who plays Son of Svengoolie is, he's still alive and out there and making appearances, and God bless his merry soul, man. But yeah, for me, it was like every weekend watching monster movies on Son of Svengoolie, and then it was kung fu movies on Channel 44, or no, kung fu movies on Sunday, Japanese sci-fi movies on Channel 44, UHF. It's like I'm talking about, like, when I was a kid, and my parents had like one tiny little TV with like a chunky
the dot. I remember those.
Yeah, and luckily my parents were fairly laissez-faire when it came to like what I watched.
Okay.
Like, some parents are very strict, and they're just like, no, you can't. If they say one bad word, it's like Disney, or Disney cartoons or nothing, and like when I was a kid, like my mom rented The Shining. She was not super into horror generally speaking, but she just really liked The Shining, and she was like, Mike, all right, now listen, it's a very scary movie. And most of it, I think you can watch. But there's one really scary scene. And when it comes up, I'm going to need you to run up to your bedroom, and then I'll call you down when it's done. I'm like, and of course, you know this, I'm talking about. But, for 8-year-old eyes, it was not, let's not show them that scene. But, for the rest of it, like, axe murdering, Jack X murdering, the actor's name escapes me. Damn it.
I'm bad with that too, man.
Yeah, I know, but anyway, Jack murdering people with an axe is fine.
Yeah,
but scary rotting naked woman, not yet. But
again, I never understood that logic. As far as, that's a dead naked rotting woman, but just in general, like with watching horror, growing up watching with my cousins, my brother, and stuff, it was Aaron, cover your eyes because she's about to get naked.
Yeah.
But at the very next scene where someone gets their head cut off, there's no cover your eyes because the monster's coming out, because Jason's coming out, because Freddy, or whatever we're watching. And I'm just like, this logic makes, like, as an adult, you're like, this logic makes no damn sense at all.
Right. It's weird because and I've had versions of this conversation before, but like contemporary horror has become very chaste. When we were kids, you would very often see nudity and sex in horror movies, and you almost never see that anymore unless it's like very specifically part of the setup, like It Follows, let's say. But you watch any of the like early Friday the 13th, and like, that's part. The boobs are part of the pitch. And I think it's just because when that in the pre-internet era, how are 15-year-old boys going to see boobs? And it's going to be Playboy, Hustler, or like horror movies, because they're too young to get porno, so it's like, that's how you're going to get boobs. So it's like, so of course you got that in there. And, but yeah, like lately it's been very, past, because the internet is there. If you want boobs, you just go on the internet. You don't need it from horror movies. So if you don't need it, it's not there. But I will say that this, when about 7-ish years ago, I was a producer on a movie called Killer Party, and that was a micro budget horror comedy. And speaking to educational experiences, I and the filmmakers, we took it to the American film market. We were looking for distribution. We had a completed film. We were looking for someone to release it. So we walked around the American film market having all these meetings. And when you speak to, this is, you go to like, you used to go to things like that to like really see like the actual how the film industry actually works. It's like, you know, the Matrix, you actually see the ones and the zeros, and suddenly it's like, oh, okay, now all this makes sense. And when we took Killer Party to American Film Market, it would, you know, we would speak to the companies that put out horror movies. They would say, well, who's in it? And by that they mean stars, you know.
Yeah.
They're like, well, who's in it? Or it's like, well, you know, no names, but I mean, they're all good actors. And it's like, you know, they don't care if they're good or not. It's like, you know, it's like, they go, all right, well, who's in it? And we're like, nah, no names, but you know, they go, okay. They go, is it gory? And we're like, well, you know, it's more of a tension kind of a thing, more a psychological thriller. And they'd roll their eyes and be like, shh, are there at least boobs in it? And we're like, no, it's not really that kind of movie. But yeah, and 100% of the time they would be like, no names, no gore, no boobs, on no, you know, no business, no sale. Sorry. So we, at the very least, with Killer Party, we went back and did reshoots to at least get gore in there, and then we won a bunch of awards and festivals, and then we were able to get set up. But that lesson hung with me when I went to go make death metal, because my producing partners were up my ass to get, you know, throw in a name, get one or two names. You know, let's get someone from, you know, a horror name, you know, Bill Moseley, one of these guys, right? I was like, no, I don't want to. The goal was Evil Dead, and there's no names in Evil Dead. Evil Dead is just Evil Dead. That's what I was trying to make Evil Dead. So I'm just like, I don't want names. The names that I have are the bands. The bands are the names. Incantation, Cannibal Corpse, Embalmer, Shed the Skin, all these guys. That's the core. The people who are going to rent this movie like death metal, they want to see death metal bands. That's my movie. They don't give a shit about movie stars. They want to see death metal bands. That's my
now. Were those actual bands?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So None Slaughter's in there, a bunch of others, but
that's dope.
So I said, I don't want names in there. I'm not going to spend the money on that. What I'm going to spend the money on is gore. So I got David Greathouse in there, and I gave him a big chunk of the budget that I had, and the two main compliments that I get on that film are everyone likes the practical effects, because that's where we spent most of our money. And it's like, it's going to be a gory practical effects movie, and the cast, you know, it's a great cast. I cast really well. Not to pat myself on the back, but like that was more of a happy accident. I had never even been to Ohio in my life. I literally like landed in Ohio and was like, all right, Ohio, what do you got? And I was blessed by the fact that all these wonderful actors came in the door.
That's awesome.
I know. Like,
that's really awesome.
I mean, when E-Ray showed up to casting, like he walks in the room with a fucking axe over his shoulder. I'm just like, I'm sitting there. I'm like, dude, it's yours. All you have to do is not suck, and the part is yours.
Don't suck. That's it.
I mean, there's a lesson to be had to actors, I guess you could say, because like for each one of the actors that I actually cast in that movie, I saw like maybe 10, 12 people who were good or very good. You know, I was like, you know, I'd watch, like a lot of people would read for Anya or, you know, Fleming or, you know, this, that. And it would be like 7, 8, 8.5. I saw a lot of really good people, but everyone who actually got cast, they were cast like almost as soon as they walked in the room. They had an extra something. So it'd be like, out of the 50 people who read, and they're all just kind of good, it's the guy who like walks in the room with an axe over his shoulder and doing a weird accent, and you know, and having his own physicality. It was like, fuck, dude. Sold to the American. There you go. Come on. And like when Caitlin Newberry came in, like I was kind of in my head casting this other woman in her head, mid-20s. You know what I mean.
I get what you mean.
But I was kind of like, yeah, I'll probably go with her. And then like Caitlin came in, and like she basically had it like within 10 seconds. I'm like, oh wow, there's Anya right there.
There it is.
I even told her, I'm just like, and you know that, and also especially when it comes to like a scrappy independent movie like this, especially when it comes to horror, you're looking for like a certain can-do, fuck it, let's rock kind of mentality. with not only your cast, not only your crew. It's just like no one's getting rich off this. Like we're making this because we love it and we understand that like all boats rise in the harbor. If this gets some attention, then we're all gonna get some attention, you know.
Yes.
But ultimately, let's make a kick-ass movie that we're happy about. So like, you know, Caitlin came in, you know, she was amazing, and I'm just like, yeah, and just hypothetically speaking, Caitlin, if you get cast on this role, you know, are you cool? I'm gonna take you to a farm in the middle of nowhere, and I'm gonna dump like fake blood and maggots in your head. I mean, are you cool with that? And she's like, let's do it. Awesome. Let's rock.
There you go.
Let's make it. Let's make this movie, man. I'm just like,
Oh,
okay.
that's awesome. See that's even better as far as just hearing something like that. I'm sure it makes your job a million times easier when the actor's just like, yeah, shit, why not? That's why I came here, basically.
Yeah, there is like, there's kind of circling around to something that you touched on a little bit earlier, is horror, unlike almost any other genre, it attracts, you know, we love this stuff, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so like a lot of the people who make these films also love it. So it's just like, yeah, oh, you want to take me at, you know, 2 a.m, you want to dump some fake blood in my head? That's why I'm here. It's like, thank God. It's like, but also going back to the idea of like influence versus winking or you know, lifting. I think you have to be careful that you're not just regurgitating the movies that you've seen. And I mean, that might sound hypocritical because, you know, just a few minutes ago I was talking about like how I, you know, this shot, that shot, this influence, that influence. But I've read a million scripts that are basically like, you know, this movie with the serial numbers filed off. I've seen a lot of horror movies where it's just like I can see exactly where it's going because I've watched so many horror movies. So it's just like I you know, I'm not scared at all because, or even interested because I've seen this movie before. You're not saying anything new. You're not doing anything. All you're showing me is that you saw Evil Dead 2. You know what I mean? And you really like Evil Dead 2, and you made your version of Evil Dead 2. Now, I mean, again, I'm being hypocritical because like I'm drawing heavily on the first Evil Dead. But I think they can watch Death Metal and be like, okay, this dude definitely is going for Evil Dead, but it's not just, you know.
It's not Evil Dead.
Yeah, I mean, they don't go to a cabin. There's no one trapped in the basement, you know, just and all that shit. So, la 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 la.
and speaking of Death Metal, which we're gonna wrap up in a little bit, a few minutes, still got some time. But speaking of Death Metal, the guitar. Listen, people, guitars can be fucking dangerous. That's all I'm gonna say. Guitars can be fucking dangerous. Go watch Death Metal on Tubi. Go watch From the Shadows on Vudu. But remember, guitars can be very dangerous, especially held by an evil entity. That's you know, possessed by an evil song. But that scene right there was fucking awesome. Though I was like, oh shit.
Yeah,
I was not expecting it.
Like I'm aiming for moments to like just grab. You know, when Anya turns, the eyeball gag in the washroom, the guitar. There's another eyeball gag with a drumstick. Like, you know, and since you've seen Shadows, you know that there's an eyeball gag in that one too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to stay away from the eyes in the next movie I make because I've checked this box. It's very Italian horror, you know, so it's like to go after the eyes. So
do you have anything coming up? Or are you kind of waiting for these to?
Yeah, no, I right this second. We're trying to focus on just getting these out into the world, but I'm writing a horror script right now. The guys that I made Shadows with, like we're throwing around a couple of projects that are kind of sort of in the ether. We might go back to New Jersey. We're throwing around that idea too. I have a spy project that has absolutely nothing to do with anybody else. It's just like it's a project that I've had like kind of off to the side, and that's more of like an action, like kind of a John Wicky kind of a thing. And I don't direct or produce that. I'm quote unquote just the writer. But yeah, it's like I mean it's like anything else, man. It's like you always have like a stable of projects, and you know, on some I'm definitely gonna direct. Like this one and this one. I think these two I'm gonna produce. Those I think I'm happy with just being the writer on that one. but I'll put myself in to direct if they want me to. It's like,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's
yeah,
like, it's just the nature of being a filmmaker these days. It's like just being a multi-hyphenate. And so, I mean, there's a documentary that I'm attached to, I'm trying to be the editor on and nothing else, so, yeah, it's, I have a whole rack of hats. And from
hey,
one title to the next, I put on the different hats.
no, that,
Death metal. In death metal, I did everything but motherfucking craft service. It's like I did everything on that movie. Whereas with Shadows, I have a bigger team. So it's like on that one, I'm the screenwriter and I'm a producer, but I didn't direct it. Mike Sargent directed it. I didn't edit it. Well, Ryan Kelly edited it. So it's like, um, and on the spy thing, I'll probably just be the writer. On this other horror thing, I'm intending to be the writer director on that one. So,
nice.
but yeah, I'm nothing close enough that I can be like, here's the title, and I'm gonna tell you the title, and because I'll just jinx it like I did Knife. So
Oh no, no,
like,
no, no, no. I was just wondering if you had some stuff coming up. I definitely don't want you to spoil anything, throw
yeah,
out any, go get ahead of yourself, so to speak,
yeah,
where you jinx yourself. All of a sudden, all your actors just leave.
yeah,
Like,
it's like I found that like the gods of Hollywood have a sense of humor, but and sometimes they will give you amazing gifts like they did with Selena on Shadows, and other times they love to play these little tricks, man. So it's just like,
mhm.
so,
Yep.
for every like amazing out of nowhere once in a lifetime stroke of good luck, there's like you pay for that with 99. Yeah, I got 99 problems, but Selena Andrews isn't one. It's like um. Anyway, so yeah,
Yeah.
it's
No,
like,
that's cool though, man. That's cool. I do want to pull something up real quick.
yeah,
So next week, next Friday, actually, I'm gonna be a part of a. It's called Casters for a Cause, a charity script read, and we're
okay,
doing Friday the 13th, which is going to
cool,
be fun as hell.
okay,
And it's all for lunch, which is to help get kids school lunch, help them feed. Help kids shouldn't have to pay for school lunch, basically.
mm-hmm.
So we're gonna have some fun with the script read, do all that good stuff, but also it's for an amazing cause. Over with my friends over on the Scene Snobs. It'll be on their YouTube channel.
Okay.
It's just if people want to come check it out, hey, I'm saying it's gonna be a
Well,
great
man,
time, and even
is there?
more so for a great cause. Say it
Yeah,
again.
is there a link that I can share on my social so I can get the word out?
Yes, I'm gonna drop it here, and then I'll send it to you in a message, and I appreciate that. I greatly
Yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah.
I'll send it. I'll
Well,
message it to you as well.
so all help
But it's
each
fun.
other out, man. And starving little kids, let's give them a sandwich, right?
Exactly, exactly. Because I think about that, and I'm like, it's crazy that because I understand people fall in hard times. Parents fall in hard times. They bust their ass. They have to do what they got to do to take care of themselves, their children, keep the lights on, all the other stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like on top of that, I have to pay for my child's school lunch where they need to go there and eat and get educated. It's hard to eat, or sorry, it's hard to get educated. It's hard to do anything when your stomach's growling,
Yeah,
let alone sit in a classroom bored out of your mind, somewhere you don't want to be, and then you're hungry. Like, come
right.
on, they really shouldn't have to pay for lunch at all. They should be able to get the regular school lunch, whatever that is,
Mm-hmm.
and be done with it. But so you gotta help them out. You gotta
Yeah,
help them out.
yeah, yeah. Circling back around to Friday the 13th, a million years ago, I used to be a co-host on a podcast where it's called It's Always Friday the 13th, and we would like every episode would be like a solid like 2-3 hour discussion about each one of
Oh,
the
that's
the
awesome.
films. And I
That's
would
so
get
awesome.
so drunk when we do these things. So it's like that's embarrassing. So it's just like if
Yep.
you ever like, I mean, you could like crawl around on Podbean long enough, and you'll find episodes of me like drunkenly slurring about Friday the
Oh
13th
yeah.
Part 8, doing that fucking. But that so on the one hand, it's embarrassing because I get really fucking trash in these things.
Hmm.
But you do find these weird little Easter eggs, like because you're gonna be watching Friday the 13th. One thing that I tripped over was there is a running thing about bears in these movies. Like the characters will be, because they're out in the woods, so they'll express a
Yeah.
concern about bears. In part 2, Paul tells the girls to about their menstruation because the
Yes.
bears
Yes.
might be attracted to it. When they find Jason's cabin, there's a stuffed bear in it. Yeah, it's like
Oh wow.
It's consistent enough. I keep an eye out for it. It's consistent enough all the way through that series that by the time we wrapped that podcast, I'm like, the one thing the series is missing only two things. One is Jason actually fighting a bear, right? The other one is we never see Jason play hockey. We like if you ever gave me
Oh man.
if you ever gave me a Friday the 13th movie to write and direct, like there would definitely be a scene in there where he's like chasing someone across some ice, and like a hockey team shows up and they mistake him for the goalie, and it's like that might be goofy as fuck, but
Yeah.
it's like how many movies are we watching this guy run around in a hockey mask? We've never seen him interact with hockey players ever. It's like it's like if you had a killer who had like a catcher's mask, like, and he never runs into baseball players or like throws a baseball at anybody.
I could see it almost working to the sense of Crystal Lake is frozen,
Right.
and even if he's not being the hockey player per se, he's getting that they're on the ice, and maybe he pulls some under the ice and just other stuff, and then they see him with his mask on. Like, oh shit, you don't play hockey, and maybe he kills somebody with a hockey stick.
Yeah,
But-
yeah. Or like,
no.
hey, they're looking for the guy who was supposed to play goalie, but hey, there's this other dude he's got the goalie mask. Oh, okay, I guess he's a replacement. So he's standing there, and they park him in front of that thing.
until he's ready to kill.
I don't know, but I mean that's the shit that I'm. The joke that I always use is like, if you were driving down Sunset Boulevard, let's just say, and you saw a billboard and it's got nothing on it but a giant hockey mask. I mean, do you really think that it's an advertisement for LA Kings, or do you think it's an advertisement for new Friday the 13th movie? It's like it's such an indelible image.
I was gonna say it comes to the point to where that mask, that's not a hockey mask anymore. That's Jason mask. That's a Jason mask. That's what everybody calls it. That, like, my niece, she's 9 now. She's never seen those movies. When she was, that's Jason's mask. That's Jason's mask.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, you're right. Like,
And
it's not a hockey mask anymore. That's Jason's.
I will to say, per Shadows, the game that I'm playing with that one, I not to give anything away, but in that one, it is inverting the slasher tropes. It's in any other movie, you see a deformed guy who wears a mask going around killing teenagers. He's the antagonist of the movie. In Shadows, he's the hero. He's the hero of the film. So, it's like, and I did that very much on purpose. I'm like, again, we're gonna do something first time. It's the creepy guy in the mask. And he takes it off, and he's all deformed and scary looking, and he's got knives and stuff, and he's going around killing teenagers. He is the hero. The hero.
Oh man,
Shadows.
that's so cool. Yes.
So
make sure you guys go. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I am shilling deathmetalhorrormovie.com is where there's a direct link to Tubi for death metal, and also I'm selling signed Blu-rays and T-shirts there. Please feel free to buy stuff off of me, support the film, because I'm still trying to pay the bands. So if you buy a T-shirt or Blu-ray, then you can help me to pay the band. No one's getting rich off this shit. I'm just trying to pay my pay everyone.
There you go.
Shadows is on Vudu exclusively for right now, and I actually just heard that death metal got picked up to be on Screambox, and I don't know. Yeah, I am great. So it's going to still be on Tubi, but if you don't want to watch death metal with like the little toothpaste ads and whatnot, then you can watch it on Screambox. I don't know when that's going to premiere. That's up to Screambox, but it's just great, cool, awesome. So there's 3 ways to watch death metal. You can watch it on Tubi with the toothpaste ad. You can buy a Blu-ray off of me, and I'll sign it and mail it to you. Or else, in the near future, you can watch it on Screambox. And
there you go.
Exclusively From the Shadows is on Vudu. We actually had a little theatrical. We were in theaters for a little bit, and it's a special little place in the heart to you make a movie and then you actually go to a theater and the movie is right there on the marquee. It's
I could that there is amazing.
Yeah, and it's funny because we were on the marquee and what was the name of the theater? It was in New York. It was on 8th and I mean, you're a New Yorker. I'm sure if I pulled up the address, you'd know exactly
Oh,
where
I'm
it is.
not.
But
I'm not in New York City though. I'm
oh, okay, okay,
higher
okay.
upstate, so I know nothing about New York
Okay,
City.
all right. So so Mike Sargent went there and took pictures because
Yeah,
of course. But he lives up in Harlem, so for him, it's just a train ride.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's like you go through all this heartache and trouble and strife and stress and not to die. And the end goal is to go to a theater, and the movie that you made is up on their own marquee, and we're able to pull that off with From the Shadows. So it's like I could get struck by lightning right now, I'd be fine. It's like okay,
See, that's
I
dope
did
though.
it. I did it.
You got to say you did it. You got to say you did it. And I mean, I have the proof. I've seen it. I've watched it, and
Right.
it's right there.
Yes. That could be my tombstone. I'm just like right there. That's my epitaph. From the Shadows on that marquee. Anyway, so I want to keep you all night.
Man. That was great, man. No, I had a great time, man. We're definitely gonna do this again down the road. I'm gonna talk after we get off the live. I'm gonna talk to you for a couple minutes, so. But I really appreciate you coming on, and I know we had to reschedule a couple times because life is busyness. Yeah. But it's one of those things. I like how you were so understandable about it. Just like you're like, fuck, I get it. Like, look, I had these things to do on these days we were trying to schedule, and then boom, you had these things. So it's like, we're here now, though, people.
It's the nature of the business. It's the nature of life.
Is.
You're just gonna you keep, and then eventually, oh shit, we're actually doing the call. Let's do it.
Yeah. But we're definitely doing this again. I just want to thank you again for coming on. I greatly appreciate you. Everybody, go check them out. The movies are pinned to the top, as well as the casters for a call. So please go check all those links out, and at the very least, share them. At the very least, click them, share them, just so other people can check it out. And I appreciate you all. I'll see you in your nightmares. Peace.